The Russian invasion of Ukraine has now brought the world economy to its knees, which is directly impacting how we live our daily lives. The world economy collapsed after Putin announced a military invasion of Ukraine. Stock prices plummeted. The impact of inflation became increasingly severe. But as soon as the gas prices started to soar, he realized there would be a long-term impact. But why? Why did the Russia-Ukraine war drive up our gas prices? Hello everyone, welcome to Economy Expert. This is your one-stop destination to simplify your most complex queries about economics. Let's dive into today's video and see why the terrifying war is responsible for the rise in gas prices. Since gas prices have risen to record-breaking levels, the price of gas has become a major topic of discussion. This price rise has snatched peace from the life of common people. Early in 2022, when the word spread that Russia, one of the major producers and exporters of oil in the world, was assembling soldiers near its border with Ukraine, gas prices skyrocketed even further. The oil market's concerns were validated when Russia invaded on February 24th, despite diplomatic efforts. As a result of the invasion, the United States and its allies imposed severe economic penalties on Russia, including a restriction on the importation of Russian oil. Gas prices then increased to levels that have not been seen in a decade, hitting $4 in the United States and reaching $5.69 in California. According to projections by JP Morgan, the current national average might reach $6 per gallon by the end of the summer from its current $5 price. Prices had already increased from pandemic lows as the economy began to recover, but once Russia invaded Ukraine, the rise spiked even more. Tens of thousands of people have died as a result of the fighting in Ukraine. Along with the immediate humanitarian disaster, the fighting has caused energy costs to rise globally, harming consumers and putting pressure on international leaders to ease up their suffering. We're all still suffering from this problem, but if we analyze further, more reasons behind this issue will appear. Because there hasn't been much money available to explore new oil resources, oil prices are rising generally. Over the previous 10 years, the majority of investors lost money on oil and gas development, and they don't want to lose any more. Simply put, they do not believe in the long-term profitability. Oil and gas prices are influenced by the supply and demand, like the majority of the items you purchase. Prices increase as the demand outpaces supply and vice versa. For instance, in 2014, the discovery of new US shale oil deposits led to a rise in oil production and a decline in the gas prices, but that boom was short-lived as many producers went out of business due to the low pricing. Oil and gas prices are also impacted by seasonal demand. Gas costs often increase in spring. Summertime sees a rise in gas consumption as families travel for vacations. The switch to summer-grade gasoline, which is more expensive to manufacture, is also mandated by regulations. Despite being one of the world's top oil producers, the United States continues to import the bulk of its crude oil from Saudi Arabia, Canada, and Mexico. Due to America's reliance on imports, the global crude oil market has a significant impact on US gas prices. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, headed by Saudi Arabia, is one of the largest geopolitical impacts on the crude oil market. OPEC was founded in 1960 to challenge American hegemony over the world oil market. For its 13 members, OPEC sets output goals, and historically variations in OPEC production have been correlated with changes in oil prices. Currently, OPEC members account for nearly 60% of all petroleum traded worldwide. A significant cause behind this issue is the expense of refining. The precise cost of refining varies based on a variety of variables, including the kind of crude oil used, the technology available at the refinery, and the need for gasoline in particular regions of the nation. Refining capacity in the United States has often lagged behind demand for oil. Throughout the pandemic, several refineries had to be closed, but even before COVID-19, demand for refined products in the United States lagged behind supply. Amazingly, since 1977, no new refining facilities have been constructed in the nation. Once crude oil has been converted into gasoline, the fuel must be transported to a storage tank before being made available to nearby gas stations. These stations need personnel and upkeep. In the 10 years from 2010 to 2020, distribution and marketing expenses made up an average 14% of the retail price of gasoline in the United States. That's why it's crucial to maintain the refinery expenses. Like suppliers, distributors and marketers have come under pressure for their potential involvement in gas price manipulation. In September 2021, the FTC declared that it would oppose any acquisitions that would enhance the likelihood of possible pricing coordination and other collusive actions in the retail petroleum market. Moreover, we can't neglect the role of taxes in price fluctuations. High gas tax states typically use the additional funds to upgrade their local transportation systems or infrastructure. For instance, as part of the $45 billion infrastructure package, Illinois raised its gas taxes in 2019. California, the state with the highest gas tax, anticipates a rise in rate in July that will result in an increase in petrol prices of around 3 cents per gallon. Obviously, the conflict in Ukraine is a major reason here, but sanctions are actually responsible in this case. Financial restrictions imposed by the West after Putin's invasion made it challenging for Russian oil transactions to be cleared through Western institutions. Typically, 10% of the world's oil supply comes from Russia. We also have a supply gap because it's still being traded, but not to the exact same extent. Even President Biden said in an address, Putin's invasion of Ukraine has driven up gas prices and food prices all over the world. One of the world's top oil producers is Russia. Russian oil was significantly reduced from the daily global supply as merchants, shippers, and financiers avoided this country and stopped every kind of business with them. Then the price of oil started to fly high. After the United States announced sanctions on imports of coal, liquefied natural gas, some petroleum products, and crude oil from Russia, the price of oil skyrocketed once more. Thereafter, the US immediately imposed sanctions on the supply of technology to Russian refineries following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, to broaden economic penalties. Even you and I could guess that since Russia is one of the major participants in the world market for fossil fuels, a ban would cause its customers to scramble for alternatives at any cost. According to figures from the International Energy Agency, Russia exports 7.8 million barrels of crude and petroleum products every day, or about 8% of the world's total oil consumption. Members of OPEC Plus, including Russia, have made the decision to stay with their plans for a slight increase in output in April. As the pandemic has subsided, the demand for oil has significantly increased throughout the world, but the OPEC Plus countries still face a daily deficit of 2.6 million barrels. The OPEC cartel is unable to increase the amount of oil it pumps into the market due to a severe fall in upstream investment and its conservative stance. Countries and economists tried every method, but it's now become an unavoidable blow to us. Europe has been affected the most. A quarter of the oil that EU nations purchase has been supplied by Russia. That is around 1.2 million barrels of oil products and 2.2 million barrels of crude oil each day. But that's not the end. By the end of this year, the EU intends to prohibit the purchase of Russian oil through waterways. This would reduce oil imports from Russia by 2/3 for EU countries. By the end of this year, Germany and Poland, which also receive Russian oil through pipelines, promised to stop doing so. Diplomatically, sanctions can't be stopped, and it's now crystal clear. After this, Russia would only be shipping 10 or 11% of the oil it had previously been selling to EU member states, including the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. By the end of this year, the UK will also gradually stop purchasing Russian oil. Nevertheless, it has been challenging to reach a consensus on any more measures, such as a complete import ban. That would harm the economy even more. But what to do now? It seems there is still hope. When supply grows, gas prices often decrease. This might occur in a variety of ways, such as OPEC deciding to release more oil, shale oil producers discovering a new significant resource, or using new technologies. But that's completely in the hands of the world leaders. The simplest immediate action we can take is to decrease our gas use by driving less or driving more efficiently. Maintaining proper tire pressure is one simple approach to increasing fuel economy. The gas economy of the vehicle may be increased by 4% by maintaining the engine's correct tuning. Urban residents should use public transportation. Others can relocate near their places of employment to cut down on travel time. By using alternative fuels, we can also reduce our dependence on oil and gas in the long run. We all know that EVs are the future. Therefore, the EV revolution can also aid in solving this issue. Could these measures lower the high cost of gas? What do you think? We'd like to know your thoughts on this problem. What do you suggest? Let us know in the comments section below.